Hi everybody, welcome back to Growing Up in Scientology. So I wanted to do a really quick introduction to what is a long 2-hour interview with Will Lindsey. Will is someone who just left Scientology a few weeks ago with the help of the Aftermath Foundation. Will was a staff member at the Church of Scientology in Seattle, or what they call in Scientology, the Seattle org. He had never even heard of Scientology before, until after meeting a Scientologist online, he was very quickly introduced to the subject and convinced, under some false pretenses and some false promises, to move from North Carolina all the way across the country to Seattle to join staff. He was later sent down to Los Angeles for some full-time training at the Sea Org base on L. Ron Hubbard Way, and then returned back to Seattle, and that's when things really started to go south in his relationship with the Seattle org. Will gives all the details of how all of this went down, how he got introduced to Scientology, how he got convinced to go join staff, what it was like down in Los Angeles, what happened at the end that made him actually want to leave staff and leave Scientology, and how he was able to connect up with the Aftermath Foundation, and how the foundation helped him get back home to North Carolina to his family. So that's why the interview is so long. I wanted to let him cover his whole story in as much detail as possible. I really want to acknowledge Will for sharing his experience and being willing to discuss it publicly. The Aftermath Foundation has helped a lot of people leave staff and leave the Sea Org and leave Scientology, and we leave it completely up to the people who have been helped whether they want to publicly discuss it or not. And most of them end up choosing not to for various reasons, and that's totally okay. But for those that do, I think it really does help the people who have supported the foundation to see what is going on. We touch on this in the interview, but it is really interesting to note how with the big push that has been happening in Scientology to get the Scientologists in each city to buy and renovate these huge, giant 50,000 square foot buildings that they absolutely don't need and cannot really afford to even maintain. So these orgs are saddled with these huge buildings that they have to staff. So they go to extraordinary and unusual lengths to convince people to come to their org and join staff. And they do this by making false promises about how much money someone can make and what the working and living conditions are going to be like. And they have some degree of success in convincing people to come and join staff at these orgs. And then what happens is they inevitably end up as basically an indentured servant, where they're working 40, 50, 80 hours a week, making almost no money, but they're being charged rent for where they're living, which is usually a place owned by the org or by one of the staff members or a local Scientologist. What they're making in pay is barely covering their rent, and by the time they want to leave, they literally can't afford to leave. They don't have the funds they need to get home. The foundation has been contacted by many staff members from these ideal orgs all over the country trying to get home. So I don't want to make the intro too long, but in the interview, we don't necessarily get right to the point, and we roam around a lot and we take our time. So I just wanted to give a little quick summary of who exactly Will is and to let everybody know what they're about to hear. It's a 2-hour interview of someone explaining how they got convinced to move all the way across the country, join staff at the Church of Scientology, what their experience was like, what made them want to leave, and how he was able to get help from the foundation to make that happen. All right, I'll let Will tell it to you in his own words. Hope you enjoy. Hi everyone, welcome back to Growing Up in Scientology. So we're doing an interview today with Will Lindsey. Hi Will.
Hello.
Why don't you tell everyone a bit about who you are?
I'm currently 29. I worked a lot of warehouse and customer service jobs. I am very apt with computers. I like computers. I like to get to know people. I love talking with people, just chatting with them about whatever's going on.
Oh, okay, good. And so how did you and I come to meet?
Actually, my mother is actually one who got me introduced with the foundation itself, and who got me in contact with you.
Cool. So for everyone watching, Will is someone who got into Scientology a few years back, or well, yeah, I'll have you give all the details. But
right.
So where were you living when you first got introduced to Scientology for the first time?
Well, I was actually living here. This is my mother's house. I was working a warehouse job. I worked there about 60 hours a week, about 10, 12 hours a day approximate. And I also do Twitch streaming, and I met a friend through Twitch streaming Her name was Lexi, or is Lexi, and she recently, at the time we were chatting, joined staff, and she was telling me about it, and I looked it up myself. So I was actually here in South Carolina, Somerville, South Carolina, when I first learned about it.
Okay. So Twitch streaming. Not everybody watching is going to know what that is. What is Twitch streaming?
Twitch streaming is you go onto the platform. The platform is called Twitch. And when you stream, like you have like the camera I have on me right now. I have a green screen. It's running somewhere. And I have a green screen behind me. You basically paste me and my body, and sometimes my chair, onto a screen, and people watch me play games.
And it's basically what everyone who grew up in the 80s wished existed in the 80s.
There you go.
You can actually
it's actually not just games. People do like creative, like painting, different. I think one guy even repairs computers on stream and like goes over questions while he does it. So I mean, sometimes it's not always about video games.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's actually people do get paid by it.
Cool. I'm going to try to help people understand this a little bit more. People are at least mostly familiar with YouTube, and you've got YouTubers and they have subscribers, and you can watch YouTube channels of people playing video games, but it's usually not live. Not usually. It's usually some edited stuff. But so you were someone who basically live streams on Twitch. And so this person that you met, is she someone who was also a streamer, or was she someone who watched you stream?
A bit of both. She was a live streamer. I met her through connecting, because like as a streamer, you want to connect with other streamers. And a lot of us use Twitter for that, and we use like hashtags to connect with different streamers. And I met Lexi. I found Lexi through one of her retweets or tweets on Twitter, and like she used like the hashtag support small streamers. And I found her that way. She was playing a game. I can't remember what game she was playing. It was interesting at the time. And I went to her stream, and I started being a follower. A follower is the same equivalent of a subscriber on YouTube.
Cool. Makes sense. So then eventually you get to know her well enough that she tells you that she just joined staff at the Church of Scientology, I think up in Seattle, or how does this come up? How does this come up?
Well, her and I started talking outside of Twitch, because like we're going on like 2 months of actually knowing each other. And then we start talking outside of Twitch. And like first it was just on Twitter, and then it was via text. So like it went that way. And then she told me how like she started having a job, but she didn't want to tell me what it was. She said that she'd go into her job. And then about like 2-3 weeks later after that, she told me that like she started with Scientology. She was afraid to admit it because of the I guess the stigma. But as she told me about it, I literally had never heard a word about it. And I had
not a word, nothing.
Nothing.
No nada. Tom Cruise shit, no John Travolta shit.
Nothing.
Wow.
I hadn't heard a damn thing.
What about South Park? You didn't see the South Park episode?
If I did see it, it didn't click. Okay. Like I'm not one to watch a lot of South Park. Like certain episodes, like people point out to me, I'll go watch. Like someone pointed out to the World of Warcraft, because I play World of Warcraft, and they pointed that episode out to me. I looked at it, I was like, that's kind of funny, but like I could relate.
Okay. So, like, by the way, I can't tell if I'm shouting. I never use these earphones, so I'm gonna try to. If it sounds like I'm shouting, please let me know.
Okay.
Okay. So she tells you about the Scientology thing. Now, did she grow up in Scientology, or did she also just had newly gotten into it?
Newly got into it. Her boyfriend at the time, she was actually living with him. His family grew up in Scientology. He grew up. I think the mother grew up, but I do know that the mother was on staff. The boyfriend was not. Okay. He was just someone who came in.
And so she was about your age, I guess, mid-20s at the time?
Yeah, she's I think she's 24, 25.
Okay. So then what does she tell you about this that, I don't know, gets you interested?
Well, I hadn't heard of it, and she told me the best thing I could do is look at the website. So that's what I did. I looked at their website. And like the first thing I saw was knowing how to know, and that kind of clicked with me. Like I like knowing about things, and not just like about your mind, but like I like to be curious about things. I like to learn how things work, and I think that's why that sentence more or less resonated with me. And at that time, that was literally as far as I got. Like I went to the first front page, and that was it. Because like I wasn't pursuing it. I wasn't doing. I was like, it looks kind of cool. Okay, cool. And I told her I did. And then she told the Has about me.
Okay, good. So for everyone watching, the Has is what they call the head of Division 1 at a Scientology organization that is in charge of recruitment. Has stands for, well, Has is HAS, which stands for Hubbard Communications Area Secretary, which there's a historical reason why it's called that. That does not matter at all. So let me ask you a question. So do you think it was her job to get people to come and join staff, or is this just something that organically happened and it was relatively
I think it was just organically happened because the reason why I think that is because about 4 months in of actually being there, she up and left. Like she what they call she blew. Yeah, she blew. So like I don't think that it was planned to get me in there, nothing. Because she blew. She went back to Maine.
Okay.
Where she, like her family lives.
Okay. So at the time when you're looking at the website, I don't know, I guess just to understand what the hell she's even talking about. Are you thinking that this thing is a religion? Are you thinking it's a science? Are you thinking it's a philosophy or just a self-help group or what?
I think at the time I thought it was more of like a bottom line hobby, maybe. At the very best, maybe a philosophy, definitely.
Okay, cool. So how do you go, how do we get from her mentioning the word Scientology to you and you looking at the website, her being in Seattle, you being in South Carolina, to you up and moving to Seattle to join staff at the Seattle org?
Well, like I told you, she mentioned to the Has, her name was Abby. She mentioned to Abby how, like, I don't know, I found it interesting. And that's really the only word I used for it. I found it interesting. And and Abby basically replied back to her is like, would he be interested in coming here? Because like if he was, I'll be able to pay his way, like give him a flight out here. And before even going into more detail, I was like, I don't think I could do that. I have a car. I really don't want to do. I really don't want to travel across and lose my car. I literally just got the car. I had it for like a year at that point. And it's just something I didn't want to leave behind. And then Abby proposed to pay me gas. That I would pay, she would pay whatever gas it was to drive from South Carolina to Seattle. And that's when I was like, okay, let me look at the website a little more, because like I literally just glanced at it. Like I just looked at the front page, and I literally didn't. That's actually the only research I did really was look at their website. I went through like what they offer, what they do, like what activities that go on, like what locations around the earth. Like that's what I did. Like I looked at their website. So I guess I didn't really go into a lot of detail with it. But from what I read, I was like, okay, I actually could. This is something I could get behind, and like help. In my head at the time, help teach this what I'm learning on this website to other people. I could do that, and so I said, okay, fine, let's do that. And then she got me on a phone interview, asked me questions like if I ever had brain electroshock therapy. That if I was
Scientologists are kind of preoccupied with electroshock therapy, I gotta tell you.
Well, I mean, given the science behind it, I don't understand why you would want so much electricity going through your brain anyway. I don't know. It just doesn't sit well
I don't
with me.
recommend it. I don't recommend it. I'm just saying. Okay, so she gets you on the phone. She's basically giving you a staff qualification survey.
Yeah.
What other kind of things did she want to know? Have you seen a psychiatrist? Have you had electroshock therapy? What else?
Yeah. If I stayed like overnight at a psychiatric hospital, if I was a pervert in my terms, I guess. Um,
Did they define what it means to be a pervert?
no, she just asked pervert.
Okay.
And I think that those are the only questions that actually resonate. I can't really remember everything she asked.
Yeah, okay, cool. So then once she determined that you were qualified, she offered to basically cover all your expenses to get from South Carolina to Seattle just to join staff.
Right.
And what were they pitching to you like would be your job there?
They didn't actually go into detail on the phone, because I guess with the way she said it, like, there was like many different positions that they won't know what I'll be qualified for until I get there and do testing. And like they also promised like a place to live, and a job. They're gonna hook me up with a job, an actual job, not just with the church.
So like a job that would pay you decent money so that in your off time you'd be working at the church. Did you understand that the church really wasn't going to pay you much at all?
I didn't realize that at the time. I thought that I was going to be working 2 jobs and making steady money.
Got it. Okay. Were there
Yeah.
any specific promises about you should expect to make this much money, and promises about we're going to did they tell you they were going to put you up in staff housing? Did they tell you it was going to cost rent, or what did they tell you?
Because I didn't get a lot of detail from the house that was recommended, but like from what I understood, like I literally thought it was staff housing, because it was technically a 2-story house with an attic. Sorry, no, it was a 1-story house with an attic and a basement, and in the basement itself, it was remodeled for 1, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms, one of which consisted of the furnace. One bedroom consisted of the furnace. And they were really small. I couldn't even stand up in it. If I stood up straight, my head hit the ceiling. And it was definitely a lot smaller than this room. And this is like maybe 12 by 12, maybe, I think. Anyway, it was more like half this room. I had a room for a bed. I had a room for a desk. And I had room for like a cabinet full of clothes. That was it.
Wow. And so that's the basement. So were there bedrooms up in the attic as well?
Yeah, 2 bedrooms up in the attic and 2 bedrooms on the ground floor.
Wow. Was this house owned by the org?
No, it was owned by one of the staff members. 2 of the staff members.
Okay. How much were you being charged to stay there?
It was kind of ridiculous for such a small space and the amount of people, but it was actually $500 a month.
Did that include utilities?
Yes.
Okay. So $500 a month. And did they hook you up with a job after all?
Yeah. We actually did not just they actually like hooked me up with a job. We went job hunting with a resume. Like they got my resume, or they actually got details about my life to get, like, I guess, freshen up my resume, make it look a little better. We went out with that to different like warehouse places, because that's what I said that I could do easily. We went to different like warehouses around like downtown Seattle, near where I was living too, so that I wouldn't have that much of a travel time. And after about 3 days, we actually found a good job.
Okay. So was this just were you going into this thinking it was a bit of an adventure? Like, it seems, I know people watching this video are going to be asking themselves, well, what would cause someone to want to move all the way across the country and be involved with people they've never met, to be involved in a group they've never heard of until a moment ago? What were you going into this with? Like, why? What was your motivation?
I wasn't sure. Maybe it was because like my home life, I was kind of like stuck in a rut, kind of. I was working 60 hours a week, and like love life wasn't really going anywhere. Professional life, I seemed a little bit stilted. I don't know. Maybe I wanted out. I really don't know. But like I definitely want. The adventure did seem a lot of interesting. don't know. Like I actually did this several years ago. Like I went to Ohio. It wasn't for Scientology or anything. It was just to get out there. But this seemed like a good opportunity to take. Like even in my head, even if it went wrong, like it would be an adventure.
Okay, makes sense. Did it occur to you? Did it strike you as odd that an organization like the Seattle Org, and I know you didn't really know anything about it at the time, but that an organization such as the Seattle Org would be spending money, I assume hundreds, if not maybe close to $1,000, to relocate someone from the complete opposite side of the country who'd never even heard of Scientology until a minute ago, that's who they were recruiting to come across the country and be on staff? Did that strike you as like, what's going on?
It did seem a bit odd, but it actually turned out to be the has. It was her personal money that she put into it. She thought that it would have been a worthwhile cause to put her money towards. But her and her husband, like they make a lot of money. I can't remember what they do. I know the husband is in like computer or something. Worked for Facebook for a while. But I can't remember. She like does crafts and stuff and sells it. But I mean, they make a good chunk of change between the both of them. And she thought it'd be a worthwhile cause to put to get me here, get me there.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so then you get there, you find out where you're staying, you get a job. What's it like walking in the door, joining staff at the Seattle Org?
It was definitely different. Like I don't know what I was expecting, because like I was surprised by like everything going on. Like they have a receptionist. I learned later why they have a receptionist, but I mean at the time I was kind of odd that like they had one. There was 5 different floors to the building itself. I didn't even go up to the second and the 4th and 5th floors for like a month. Not like because I couldn't. It was just I hadn't the need to go up there yet. But it was definitely surprising. Like when I first got there, I took a lot of different tests. I took IQ, aptitude, leadership, and personality. Took all 4 of those. And like I was like signing up for all these. I was signing contracts. I signed a 2.5-year one because it's like I really wasn't sure. This was like I wanted to stay with for 5 years because there's 2 different contracts, and I don't know. It was definitely like it was exciting in a way because like it was something new. I was learning all this different stuff. Like I like learning about things.
Cool. All right, so I've got a few questions I've noted down here.
Mm-hmm.
But before I get into these specifics, so you said that they weren't going to know like what post to put you on until you got there and found out what you were qualified for. What post is the first post that you ended up on?
Well, I was given a choice between like 4 different posts, and I wanted to be the DIRCOM, Director of Communication, in Division 1, like I think the 2nd
Department 2.
Yeah, that one. And because it seemed really interesting, like I could like mess with computers, I could mess with the servers, get the mail out. I mean, it was something I feel like I could do. And because at the time they were about to release the station, like it was about a month out from releasing the station.
Scientology Media Productions. Oh, the direct TV network.
Right.
Okay.
It was about a month out from there, and we expected an inflow of a lot of public, and like so they wanted to fill up the Div 6, and so they're like, okay. Oh, my agreement was like, okay, I will do this post, but I want to be trained to be DIRCOM. So I was put on the testing officer.
And was that in Division? Is that in Division 6?
Yeah, 6A.
Okay, public contact division. So for the people watching, Division 6 is the part of the Scientology organizing board that's responsible for brand new people coming into Scientology and delivering to those brand new people. It's a different part of the organization than where actual seasoned Scientologists do their courses and get their auditing. Okay, so they were having you be the person that when some brand new person walks into the org, you're responsible for having them do those tests that you mentioned, the personality test, usually just the personality test, to be honest.
Usually just the personality. Every now and then, like a person wants to do the IQ or the aptitude just for shits and giggles, more or less. Pardon my language.
Okay, so that was your post? That was your post?
That was my post.
And how many people would come in and do tests? Like, what are the numbers like?
Well, I was foundation, so I was just nights and weekends. And we usually got our new public in on the weekends. So like every weekend we got about maybe 5, maybe 6 new people doing tests, getting them on service. I think out of those 5, 6 people, we got like 1 or 2 on service.
Okay. Now I can tell you from experience, like when I was on staff in Philadelphia, I worked both orgs, the day org and the foundation org. There's no question Saturdays and Sundays, particularly Saturdays, are the busiest times at an org.
Oh, yeah.
So whatever you were getting on a Saturday is more than they were getting Monday through Friday, almost guaranteed.
Correct. Yeah, definitely.
So give me your opinion, though. These 5 or 6 people in a weekend that would come in and say, hey, I'm Joe Blow. I'd like to find out more and taking a personality test. Where are these guys coming from? What's making these guys walk in the door?
Well, most of them are actually tourists. Like we have one person from, actually, no, we have three of them from England. They were there just touring, and they were walking by. They saw our sign, come do a personality test. They came in and did it. They're actually very interested in what was going on. They saw a lot of the viewing boards, because that was actually also my job. I had to like walk people around the first floor and look at the public information booth.
Yeah. What do they call them? Someone created a funny acronym that ended up being calling them the fart videos. But you mean all the video displays in Division 6?
Right.
Okay. So am I correct that if someone goes to the Scientology YouTube channel and just looks at all of the videos that are there, those same videos are essentially on a continuous video loop in the Div 6 area of the org? That's essentially correct, right?
I would say that some of the videos are there, because like I wanted to show a particular video to my mom, actually. I wanted to show a particular video to her about the Purification rundown, because when I was signed on for when I was signed on with Day, which I guess I'll get into a little bit later, I was the Purification rundown in charge, and I ran the Purification rundown. And my mom, like, I wanted to share with her what I was doing, and like the easiest way to do that was to look at the video. And I could not find an online video with the Purification rundown. It was only available in the org. So like I would say that a lot of the videos on there, but not all of them.
I got it. Okay. And so for anybody watching this video who happens to live in Clearwater, at the corner of Cleveland and Fort Harrison in the old Clearwater Bank building, there's a little thing there that says Scientology Public Information Center, all welcome. If you go in there and you look at all the video displays that are there, that's exactly what Will is talking about right now. Those displays are basically in every Church of Scientology now, or every newly renovated Church of Scientology.
And also in the test centers.
And in the test centers. Okay, so these people are coming in, they're taking tests. You're getting 1 or 2 a weekend onto the introductory courses. Now, that doesn't mean that those people stuck around, finished introductory courses, and signed on to major actual Scientology courses, does it? You're just talking about how many people took the bait in the beginning and signed up for like a $50, $100 course.
Right.
Okay. Did you think those were good numbers? Did everyone seem generally happy with those numbers of people coming in?
Well, to me, it seemed like good numbers, because like I felt like after about 3 or 4 months actually doing the testing officer job, getting like 1 person, 2 people a week on course was actually good, because that was actually all we did. We actually didn't, in the whole I've been there, something just fell, sorry. But the whole I was there, like we didn't get a lot of people. Not like in the span of things like they were in LA. Like I went to go visit LA, and then I saw like the numbers that they were getting in. They were getting in like 50 a day, and like 20 on service a day. So like it was nothing like we were doing. But to me, it felt like good because I was like, oh, cool, I did something. I felt excited about it. But in actuality, it was it was basically enough to keep lights on, so to speak.
Right. Makes sense. Okay, let me run through some of these specific questions about the org itself, and then we'll continue to just discuss more of your story as it moves on.
Okay.
Okay, so how many staff were there at Seattle in the foundation org? And just to make sure people are truly clear on what the hell we're talking about. In Scientology, the day org is the staff and the organization that operates Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, essentially.
Yeah.
And then the foundation org is a separate staff, a separate organization that runs Monday through Friday, 7 to 10, more or less, and Saturday and Sunday. Some people work for both orgs.
Right.
Some people only work day org. Some people only work foundation org. Working at the day schedule is considered full-time. Working a foundation schedule is considered full-time. Working both is called full-time. So, well, when you joined foundation staff, how many staff were there? How many public were there?
Staff, I want to say about maybe 30. I think 30 staff were on foundation, like give or take 5. Public, because like given how many people showed up for like graduation on Fridays, I want to say there was about maybe 20 a night, 20, 25 a night.
So does that mean every night there was about 20 to 25 people on course?
Yes, between course, auditing, and just being there.
Okay, good. But some public only come into course one night a week and stuff like that, right?
Right.
So if you had to estimate how many individual Scientologists were, in some respects, active online, it's not even every week, not even every month, but how many individual public Scientologists there were around the Seattle org, what would your guess be?
Well, given how many people showed up for most of the events, I want to say close to 50 to 60.
Okay,
and, like,
but that would mean, I'm sorry, I'm accidentally cutting you off here. I don't mean to do that.
You're fine.
But that would mean half of all of the Scientologists in the Seattle area showed up for course every night, which seems kind of unlikely.
Well, I mean, maybe not. Because like our biggest event that I was present for, because like I was gone for 3 months in LA. But the biggest event that I was present for, we got a max about like 60 people. And so like I know average we had about 10 people in the academy on the fourth floor, and we had about 5, 6 max in the Div 6 course room, and then maybe 3, 4 people in auditing, and then maybe 1 in ethics. But I mean, so I mean,
okay,
like,
good. I mean, no,
that's the numbers I have.
I mean, your numbers as far as how many people were in the organization on a given night, those are fantastic observations, and we'll probably have to leave it up to everybody else to extrapolate.
Right.
How many Scientologists would have to exist in order for 25 of them to be in the org every night? And people can, I guess, figure that out for themselves. But so when you then got more familiar with the day organization, how many staff members did they have?
Foundation actually had more. So they had about 20, 25, again, give or take 5.
The Foundation's org had more staff than the day org?
Definitely.
What the hell? That is crazy.
We had about total between both foundation, both orgs, we had a total about 50.
Wow. So just for some perspective, Seattle org, I'm almost positive, literally the only Church of Scientology in all of Washington.
Right.
Portland is the only Church of Scientology in all of Oregon. So you have these 2 large states that have only 2 organizations. So you could just kind of, I'm sure Portland is not any bigger than Seattle. And in that entire freaking state, in that entire metropolitan area, they only have 50 staff members. The Philadelphia org, where I was on staff, had more staff members than that back in 1995. So what are we, 25 years later, and the Seattle org is no bigger than the Philly org was 25 years ago.
From what I was told, there was more before, but I guess over time, in the past 10 years. I'm only throwing that out there. We've lost a total like about 10 staff members, maybe a little more.
Right. So now the Seattle organization, again, this is more for the people who are watching,
Right.
is one of these brand new renovated organizations that Scientology calls an ideal organization. Do you know how much time had passed between when they opened up their brand new building and when you arrived there?
Oh, from what I was told, it's been like, because I was told it's one of the first actually ideal orgs to open, one of the first few. So like, not 10 years, but at least 9.
Okay, that's kind of a long time. All right, so let's see some of these questions. I said how many staff, how many public, busiest times, event attendance. You said that. Colin confirms fundraising events. What kind of fundraising did you see happening in the organization?
We had like a fundraising event maybe twice a month, sometimes more, depending on what was going on. Like during LRH's birthday event, we had like back-to-back, week after week fundraising events. But most of them like were like $30,000 we raised. I think the max was 60,000 one time. But yeah.
What were the fundraisers for?
Oh, well, one of them, I know one of them was for straight IAS. Like most of them were straight IAS. The other was in like, what do they call it? Alliance org with a Canadian one. I can't remember which one it is, but it's a Canadian org somewhere in Canada.
Well, Vancouver isn't too far from Seattle, right?
Right. So maybe be Vancouver. I honestly cannot remember, and I do apologize.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So for the people watching, the IAS is the membership organization of Scientology. Scientologists consider the IAS to kind of be, well, the word that gets used sometimes is the war chest for Scientology. It's essentially the slush fund. I'm not intentionally using derogatory terms. I'm actually trying to explain how Scientologists think about it. The IAS exists independently of any actual Church of Scientology.
Right.
And money donated to the IAS can be put towards anything, but is commonly understood to be used towards legal defense of Scientology and to sponsor certain promotional marketing campaigns for Scientology. Like, it's generally understood that the $1 million that gets spent to buy the Super Bowl ad for Scientology, that is money being spent by the IAS. And the alliance that Will is referring to is, each individual Church of Scientology is responsible for raising the money to buy and renovate a huge 50,000 new square foot building that they don't fucking need at all. But so for the orgs that were rich enough to raise that money, they then form an alliance with the other orgs that cannot afford to raise the money. And it's just a way to squeeze money out of the organizations that have the most public with money to spend. Do I generally have that correct, Will?
Yeah, generally, yeah.
Okay, so IAS fundraisers, ideal org fundraisers, anything else?
I want to say that was it, because like most of the time it was for the IAS. Majority of our ones was for the IAS. I think one time we did one specifically for the volunteer ministers because they were having issues with the fire in California. But I think that was it. Yeah, the Alliance, IAS, and that was really it.
Okay, cool. So what was your staff pay like as you either just for foundation and then later when you worked for both orgs?
Well, I mean, the way I usually explain it is like when people ask me, like to my dad, to my stepdad, all family, is like I got about $5 an hour. Like if I broke it down hourly, I got $5 an hour, and that was on a good week. But typically because, well, towards the end I was working both orgs, so I was working like 60, 70 hours ish. I got maybe $200 a week. Maybe.
And that was $200 a week working both day and foundation?
Both day and foundation, but that was like on a really good week. Like if we had like good services, like if we got a lot with the IIS donations, because we get staff pay gets a direct like percentage of the IIS raisings. So staff pay gets a strict percentage of that, and
Right.
if we have a good amount, it goes right to staff. It goes to staff pay. But like a lot of factors go into it, and like I got like on a bad week, I literally got $60.
Yep. You
So
know, this
then,
is
yeah.
one thing that that sometimes gets missed when people are, let's say, trying to understand the Sea organization as it relates to regular Scientology staff members like those in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
It can be so much harder in many instances to actually be on staff than to be in the Sea Org. And I know because I did both. Like
Oh
you're
yeah,
saying,
yeah.
you're saying on an average week you could get $60. Well, so do Sea Org members, but Sea Org members don't have to pay for rent and
Right.
food and cars and entertainment because they don't have any entertainment. But like, how do you survive on that?
Like I lived in LA for 3 months. I was in their staff housing with 10 other people in the room. We used bunk beds, and we were basically there to sleep. That was all we were there for, and I definitely didn't enjoy that. So like basically my time in LA cemented. Like before that, I was like not. I was like maybe if the moment comes, I might do it, but I really wasn't going for it because I know how like they are with kids, and I really want kids. But my time there in LA cemented me that I did not want to go in the Sea Org because I did not like the schedule. I did not like the crampedness of 10 people in one room. I snore a little bit, and sometimes it's really bad. And this one guy literally kicked me awake because I was snoring really bad one time. And I don't want to live with that. But yeah, they live on like maybe $50 a week, but they get everything paid for, which like I have to say, like if I were to join the Sea Org just for having 3 meals a day provided to me, I actually might do that. But because like hey, the food was pretty good most of the time, so like it was kind of cool. But otherwise, no. I mean,
Okay.
I wouldn't join the Sea Org just for the food. But that was just a joke.
No, I'm sure. I'm surprised more people don't. I'm surprised more people don't.
Right.
Okay, so anywhere between 60 and $200 a week. But so how did you live on that?
Oh, I didn't. Particularly when I actually did like officially sign a contract for Dayorg. I was still working at that first job I got, at the warehouse, Keller Supply. It was a warehouse. And I think I was making $15, $14 an hour, and I was working 40 hours a week. So like I was making good chunk of change there, and I made rent. Excuse me, which after about 2 months in, I was actually living somewhere else. I was living in an apartment with another staff member on Dayorg because I did not want to live in that cramped space with like 10 other people. Like I mean, I know it was a whole house, but it was literally like 10 other people living in one place with one shower, and I just didn't like that. So I moved out. Got into an apartment with another staff member and her husband, and that was like $600 a month, and I could understand that. Like that, I could understand. Not $500 a month for a little tiny room I couldn't stand up in. But I signed a Dayorg about 2 months in of staying there, and I was still working for Keller Supply. When I basically backtrack on joining the Dayorg after I signed a contract, I began getting migraines. It was stress migraines because I made a commitment to Dayorg and I wasn't keeping it, and like I had migraines about that because I like to keep I like to keep my promises, at least to the best of my ability, and I was literally not doing that at all by not joining Dayorg, basically quitting my job and joining Dayorg. And when basically my job fired me because I had too many migraines and I kept calling out of work. And at that moment, they're like, okay, we're going to pull you on a Dayorg, which they tried to do. And I said, no, I need to get another job because I cannot live right now just working staff. And they kept saying how like, well, your pay is going to improve after you get done with staff status 2. I didn't finish staff status 2 until October. We're in June right now. Like I didn't finish. I had like 4 months until I finished staff status 2, and with $600, that doesn't include utilities. $600 a month adds up pretty quick. And like I lost my car because I could keep up payments on that. That was $400 a month. I ended up getting on food stamps toward the end there because I couldn't afford anything. It was I couldn't afford anything. Working both orgs, I could not afford anything. And losing that car really hurt.
So the car that you used to drive to Seattle so that you could join staff ends up getting repoed because you're not making enough money on staff to even pay for the car you took to get there.
Right. I actually, one of the two of the Sea Org people, I guess, were there for whatever reason. I can't remember why. But they were actually trying to convince me of a way to be on both orgs and afford everything. And they said one of their sayings, like one of their solutions, was to get rid of my car. If I didn't have my car, I wouldn't have to pay for gas. I wouldn't have to pay $400 a month. I wouldn't have to pay for insurance. And that was a good chunk of change that I was paying.
Brilliant solution.
Right? But I ended up losing the car, so I guess it worked out in the end for them. And it basically, for me, it went downhill from there. Like I tried to get like little small jobs here. I worked with another, not a staff member, but like a parishioner. I worked with a parishioner.
Public?
Yeah, public. He was paying me to help him renovate his house. So I got a little bit of money from that. I worked for UPS a little bit, but again, the migraines got me. And then they finally got me, like they were kind of getting me on as the, so now we're finally in like September. And they're like, why don't we get you on for the Purification Rundown IC? And because like they're trying to figure out where to put me, because apparently now I'm not HCO qualified because of my my Adderall. I took Adderall for like 9 years ish. I'm sure my mom can correct me, but like I took it for a very long time, and just for the fact that I was off it at that time, because apparently you can't be on Adderall or any psych drug while being on staff, which I learned later. But I had already decided to get off of it. But that's another story. I was off of it. They denied me to be on HCO, which I was actually kind of looking forward to, because on day org they were trying to put me as the DUR-RAP.
Yeah.
I think it's a DUR-RAP. Yeah, the guy.
So for our listeners, the director of routing and personnel, which is basically the director of hiring.
Yeah. Yeah, they wanted me on DUR-RAP, and then Foundation wanted me DUR-Comp. And then I got the official, no, he can't be on HCO from, I guess, the HCO people in LA. I can't remember where.
Senior HCO.
Yes, thank you. But yeah, I got the hammer down. I can't be an HCO, so I was kind of bummed about that. But then they're trying to figure out where to put me, and they're like, what if you want to be? What do you think about Purification IC, the Purif IC? And I thought about it. I'm like, okay, I can probably do something like that. That'd be kind of fun. I could be kind of active, getting in touch with people. I don't have to be in direct, like, quiet all the time like I am, like I would have been for an academy supervisor. So I was like, okay, I think I could do that, because like I can talk with people, learn what's going on. I feel like I can do that. And like not 4 or 5 days later, someone from LA, person in charge of training people, I can't remember the title.
The senior training who?
Mostly training auditors. That's what she does.
She was a Sea Org member at one of the service orgs, like AOLA or ASHO or.
ASHO, yeah, she was at ASHO. But I can't remember what her title was. I know, like, she trained OOCs. She trained out of org
trainees.
That OOTs. Yeah.
Okay, so then she worked in the CLO, probably not at the. She worked in the Continental Training Organization in CTO, I believe, where AdOrg trainees study.
Well, that's where the admin OOTs go, not the auditor. And the training, it was at Ash Show. I know because like
Okay, it is at Ash Show. Okay,
it's at Ash Show.
okay.
But
Do you remember her name? Was it Karina?
no, it was Diane.
Okay.
She
All
was
right. So she came to Seattle, or you just spoke to her?
She came to Seattle. Yeah,
For what?
I don't know if I was the reason, but I was the only one that left.
Oh, you went back down with her?
Not immediately, but I took a flight out like the day after.
Oh, but she was there to collect trainees, to people to come down and train.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Is that where you did your Purify training? Was down in LA?
Yeah, I was there for 3 months doing my Purify training.
Oh, okay. So I'm sure we could do a whole hour or two just on what LA was like. But let me ask you, when you finally got on as the Purify Seattle, how many people did you guys have on the Purif?
When I first got back, so we're now in January-ish. Yeah, January of this year. When I first got back, I think we had we only had one person on it at the time. And then right as she finished, we had another person start. And then about 2 weeks, 3 weeks before she finished, we had another person start. So basically between January and the time I left, in May, in May, we had a total of 8 purists.
Yeah. Wow. So you had an average of 1 to 0 people on the Purif at any given time?
Yeah, a max of 3 actually. Like towards the end there, we had 3 at one time, and it was kind of weird. I was like, oh my God, we're so busy.
So there were definitely times when you guys just had absolutely nobody on the Purif.
Right. I did letters.
Okay. So for everybody watching, I just want to emphasize the significance of that as a number. Not only is the Purif pretty much the first step anybody does when they're getting into Scientology and they've finally finished, just people only do introductory courses as long as it takes for them to decide to make the jump to a major actual Scientology service. And once they decide to make that jump, the Purification Rundown is the absolute mandatory first step everybody takes when getting into Scientology. And not only that, almost all Scientologists have been redoing the Purif these days. So someone can do the Purif 2, 3, 4 times in their whole career in Scientology. So even though earlier in this video you mentioned like maybe even 1 or 2 or 3 people getting into Scientology for the first time every weekend, I just also want to point out how that relates to this other statistic of people on the Purif. If you're normal, and this is at one of Scientology's most expensive, biggest, ideal organizations, in a state where it's the only Church of Scientology in the entire fucking state, and you have an average of 0 people on the Purification Rundown, 0 to 1 at any given time. And so help everyone watching understand, how long does it take for somebody to do the Purification Rundown?
I have seen 3 weeks. I have seen 6 weeks. It really goes between. Like my Purif twin in LA, she did it in 3 weeks. She started a week after I did, and I did it in 4 weeks. So I mean, it's not a given time, anywhere between 3 and 6 weeks.
Right. And the reason I wanted people to understand that it can take many weeks is that the longer something like this takes, the more likely it is for people to actually stack up on top of each other. And, you should wind up with 6, 7, 8, 10 people on the Purif at the same time, because you should have people starting faster than they finish. Right.
You should.
And the Purif costs about like $2,500. Is that the number you would have said? Like,
no, like because when we get all the paperwork, at the top of their where we write their times that they were there, like how much time they spent on the Purif, we write the gross amount of money at the very top, because at the very end of that sheet we split it up between day and foundation of how much time was spent on the other. So at the top, and I think the most I saw was 9,000.
For a purif? No, that's not right.
I mean, that's just what I wrote there.
Okay.
Maybe it was 19, but I definitely, it might have been 19,000. But I mean, like I wrote 9,000 one time. I wrote 12,000 another.
Wait. Just explain it to me again. What was this number being written down for?
This is the basically the amount of money that is split between Day and Foundation. Like not
But
like
why does the Purify C care about how much money is being split between Day and Foundation?
because there's two Purify Cs. There's one Day and there's one Foundation, and like at the end of their Purif, we decide which Foundation, sorry, which org gets the
VSD, right?
Yeah, the completion.
Okay, but I mean, the only reason. Okay, so for everyone watching, there's a statistic in Division 4 called value of services delivered.
Right.
And when somebody finishes an auditing action or a course, the head of Division 4 has to update his statistic for what is the value of the services that we completed this week. That's the only reason I can think of that a Purify C would give any damns at all about how much somebody paid for the Purif.
Possibly, yeah. I think that's
but so you were keeping track of that. I'm sorry to be so dense about this.
In their folder, yeah.
Okay. So you think somebody might have even paid up to $9,000 for the purification rundown?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fucking crazy. I know even in ASHO, because I was the technical secretary at ASHO. I don't know if you even know that. Did you know that?
No, you told me about the other one, but not ASHO.
Yeah, and so I would have to keep track of the VSD, and we would send our people to do the Purif at LA org. But still, I had seen 2,500. If something has changed and it's 9,000, that is insane.
See, that's the thing. I actually noticed that difference too, because like I got the bill for me doing the Purif because I hadn't done the Purif yet, so I had to do the Purif at LA org. When I was getting my training done. So like I saw the bill for it, and then later on I saw like what we charged at Seattle. There is a significant difference. Like doing it at LA org and doing it at my org. There was a big difference.
That's weird, right?
It is.
So
weird.
What was your bill?
My bill was easily like I think 30 grand.
Not for the Purif.
For everything total.
But what was your bill for the Purif?
No, I meant like for the Purif, like 30 grand.
What? What?
I'm serious. Yeah, no, I saw the bill and I was like, this is a lot of money.
And hold on. Are you talking about that's your room and board? That's your review auditing?
That's just the Purif. That's just the Purif with all the materials, everything.
What the fuck?
Yeah, like I was blown, and I also had to sign something that if my org didn't pay for it, I had to pay for it.
Nice. Well, that's fucking crazy. You're kind of blowing my mind right now. I'll have to ask some people about that. But hey, maybe we should we're not in any kind of a rush here. What was your experience like in LA? I mean, you're basically on a Sea Org base. So what was that like?
Like I told you before, like being there cemented that I didn't want to join the Sea Org. I barely had enough time to basically wind down after everything because like at 10 o'clock is when classes ended, and then at 10:30 we had a cleaning muster to clean all the academy classes before we went home. So like we didn't actually get home until like closer to 11, and then we had to wake up and be at breakfast at like 6, and I didn't like that schedule. But I did like we were always moving kind of thing. Like we were always doing something. We're always going. But I could not do that for longer than what I was there for. So that like in a way I understood. Like I liked it, but at the end of the time I didn't like it. I go back and forth with it. But I always had to be in uniform, like org uniform. I always had to be in uniform. I had to make sure it was always like ironed. basically your typical like dress code. So we woke up at 6. We got breakfast. I couldn't even go for the first week. I could not even go into the mess hall because like something hadn't been approved yet to get my ID, and I couldn't go into the mess hall without my ID. Because I went in there one time because I was told to go, just go in there and grab food, and I was escorted out.
So how did you eat for the first week?
Very carefully, like people. It was like the first couple times, like I bought my own food at the cafe. I had to buy my own food at the cafe, and then after it still wasn't approved yet, the OOC training girl, she bought my food from the cafe, and then they're like, "We're gonna get someone to bring you food out." So apparently they just didn't want me in the mess hall. They could bring me food out, but I could not be in the mess hall. I was like, what is so hard for me to walk in there and walk out with food? What is so hard about that? But anyway, so that was the first week. And then Sundays we were given some free time. We didn't have to actually be there until like noon. And then like while I was there, they decreased the amount of free time that we had on Sunday. Like they gave us we had to be there like 2 hours earlier, so we lost 2 hours of free time because also on Sunday was cleaning. We had to clean the apartment that we lived in, our room, and like we got our like any shopping that we had to do, just general relaxation, haircuts. I also got in trouble because I didn't want to get a haircut. Oh, that's the other thing. Like it was ridiculous things I got in trouble for. Like I said "bless you" in the course room, and the supervisor came over and said, "I need you to not say that while you're in the course room." I'm like, I was kind of brought up to say "bless you" when someone sneezes. I'm gonna do it. He's like, "Well, I need to ask you not to not do it." I'm like, "Well, I can't agree with that." It's like, "Okay, you need to go to ethics."
So to clarify, though, was he saying this because you're not allowed to talk to other students, or was he offended that you said "bless you"?
Oh, he was offended because I'm not offended, but he was. I was talking to another student.
Right.
Even though they didn't acknowledge me or anything, I just said "bless you." I didn't even look at them. I was like looking out and say "bless you." That was it. I didn't look up, nothing.
Right. So because the rule says students must not talk to each other in the academy,
right,
they can't even exercise that much judgment to be like, hey, maybe it's okay to say "bless you." Maybe we're gonna let that go.
But see, at the MAA or I can't remember, the ethics officer for the Sea Org, even she was like, you can't do that. You can't be talk. Like she showed me, like she re-showed me the student rules, behavior, whatever.
Students Guide to Acceptable Behavior.
Right. And I was like, I just want to say "bless you." And like, and the other thing, like that she got onto me about was that I had a pen in my ear at all times, almost a pen, and she's like,
pen,
a pen, like a little ink pen.
You just like stick it in your ear?
Right. It was just sitting in my ear, and she would often. She's like, you need to take that pen in your ear, so I did. And then other times, like she would actually reach up and take it out of my ear, and she kept saying, like, if I keep catching you with this pen in your ear, I'm gonna have to write a KR in you, a knowledge report. And I'm like, what is it so big of a deal about this pen? And he's like, well, it looks unprofessional. I'm like, I think it's actually the opposite. I think it looks really professional. It shows that I'm ready to write something down. It's like, oh, it makes you look like a teenage girl. I'm like, well, you're looking at the wrong teenage girls. I got in a lot of trouble. Like I was in the ethics like every other week because like apparently I did something wrong. And like one time, I was doing it was a purification rundown like test at the LA org, and while I was there doing that test, I missed my 15-minute break. And when I got back, I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna take my 15-minute break real quick." He's like, "You can't do that." Well, I missed my 15-minute break while I was over there. It's like, "Well, you should have took it while you were there." I said, well, you can't take breaks. According to the rule, you cannot take breaks. I'm like, I missed my break, and I got into ethics.
Yeah. Yep. See, they would say, no. It wasn't your 15-minute break. It was the 15-minute break.
Right.
And you missed it.
Right.
Hey, who was your ethics officer?
Rebecca.
You remember her last name?
Lawrence.
Don't know her. Who was your course supervisor?
Dick.
Dicko? Dick Orchu?
Yeah.
Oh, Dick is such a sweetheart. He was one of the supervisors at ASHA when I was the tech sec. Fuck.
He actually grabbed me one time because I was getting mad and I wanted to go for a walk because I was getting mad, and I was basically just walking out the door and he grabbed my arm, and I looked at him like, you better let go of me, and he did. but it pissed me off that he actually put his hand on me.
Oh, they're not allowed to let anybody leave the course room. They are not allowed to let anybody leave the course room.
Oh, yeah, they get in trouble if that happens. So yeah.
Oh yeah. So now, so like your day-to-day course studies that you did in LA, was that at LA org?
No, I apart from doing the Purif and like doing the test I had to do with involving the Purif, I did everything at ASHO Academy.
That is really incredible. So the reason I say that is everyone at PAC, PAC is the term for all those orgs on LRAC.
PAC base, right?
PAC base. We're told that the reason the organization, the OEC and the Flag Executive Briefing Course were not being delivered at ITO, which is the International Training Org,
right?
Anymore. ITO was located in the Hollywood Guarantee Building on Hollywood Boulevard in Ivar. Was because ITO was being moved to LA org, and LA org was turned into a Sea org, and that LA org was going to be the model class 5 org for the entire world. And that's why, and that someone realized it's stupid to train org execs at ITO where it's not a class 5 org. There's no Scientology being delivered to public at ITO. You should train them at the model, the best class 5 org in the world, and that was going to be LA org. So when you tell me that you were brought from Seattle to LA to do your training, maybe it was because you were training for a technical post and not an admin post.
Because like the other technical posts, like most of them were auditors. They were being trained with me, but I did see when I went to LA to do the Purif stuff, I did see because like some of them were my roommates. I saw them there at LA org doing whatever. So I mean,
So hey, there's some supervisors and some other staff at ASHO that a lot of people watching this video are going to know. And so I want to know if you knew them or met them while you were there. So there's a great guy named Huck Taylor, Huckleberry. He was a course supervisor. Did you interact with him at all?
Huck. Yes.
Oh, you'd know him. Huck.
Yes, I did. Yeah. He wasn't a supervisor anymore. He was, what did he do? It's something up a little further up on the org board, but still Division 4.
Director of training, maybe?
Maybe. He was directly involved with making sure people got done in time for Thursday before 2.
Oh, that could be a few different things, but that's okay. So you know Huck. So there's also someone I remember, last I knew, she was the new tech sec to replace me. Her name is Karina. At the time, it was Karina Garone is her maiden name. Does that sound familiar at all?
It does. What'd she look like again?
Very skinny, very white, dark hair, always pulled back in a tight ponytail, usually.
Oh.
It just very skinny and very white is the best way to describe her.
It sounds like Rebecca.
That's fine. You'd know it.
No.
You'd know it. You know it. What about Bill Screevers? Is he still there? Jim Plett, Bill Screevers.
Oh, they were course admin.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, they were course admin. I helped them one time.
Admin?
Yeah.
Screevers?
I don't know about Screevers, but yeah, like
Jim Plett, big bald dude.
Yep.
Oh, that's so sad. That is so sad. God, who else? What about well, because ASHA was now one org. When I was there, it was Dan Foundation. So what about Juliana? Juliana, she might be the chief off.
True. I know there was.
She's had so many fucking last names. Juliana Shape. I knew her as Juliana Shape, but I know that's not her name anymore.
I do remember a Julie. She was the she was down there in Division 5.
Did Julie have blonde hair?
No, she's a redhead.
Okay. Oh,
the one I'm thinking.
That might be who we're talking about. What about Amber? Amber Page. Was there someone named Amber? Short, heavy girl. But been there forever. She was the qualifications secretary last I knew, but I seriously doubt that's her post now. Does that ring a bell?
No, they're a short, bald dude is the qualified now.
Okay. Cool. Well, so did anybody stand out down there as like particularly good or particularly bad? Like, what was your impression of the Sea Org members you were dealing with?
Oh well, I definitely didn't like the Sea Org recruitment because they hit me up. Like I got off the Uber. I got out of the Uber and I entered the building. Excuse me. Not 10 minutes later, they hit me up, and I still had my bags with me. I'm like, please don't talk to me. But yeah, there was one in particular. What was her name? She was a course admin for the public, but not the student hat one, because they had two different ones. They had the student hat course supervisor, and then they had the other one. I can't remember her name. She was really nice to talk to. We enjoyed the same music. It was kind of nice. I can't remember, but if anyone stuck out, it would have been her. Rebecca, being ethics, probably would have been the only person I didn't get along with. Even though, like, at the same time we did get along, but when it had something to do with me getting in trouble, it was definitely a back and forth. But like overall, I didn't really have a problem with anyone. I did have a problem with Dicko definitely putting his hand on me and then telling me to not say bless you. But
Dicko was the one who wanted you to not say bless you?
Yeah. He was the one that, yeah. He's also the one that wrote me up about the 15-minute break.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did Dicko still have a big giant belly, or was he skinny?
Oh, he still had a bit of a gut for sure.
Okay, let me see. Oh, the recruiters. Gabe Matoyer and this kid named, well, he's not a kid anymore, named Trevor. I see emails going out. People post a lot of this stuff online, and I see those guys have been recruiters forever. I've known them forever, and I can't tell sometimes if they're recruiting for Flag or recruiting for PAC. Do you remember the names of the recruiters that were always trying to get to you?
Trevor, for sure. I do remember Trevor. And the other one was actually the same one that, the one I told you about that gave me the threat about his parents and getting me kicked out. His name was Cameron Lowe. Trevor and Cameron sat me down for like 3 hours trying to get me into the Sea Org. And by this time it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and it didn't really sit well with me at all, because like I told them I didn't want to join because I want to have kids and I want to be a big part of their life. I don't want to be like a semi idea in their head. And they said, well, what if, look at it like this, what if if you don't join here, you won't even have a future for your kids, or something like that. It was really dark, and I really didn't like it. It was at that point, like, I was like, okay, I'm done.
What kind of buttons? I mean, I know we might be getting a little off into the weeds here, but I think people are really interested into things like this. Right. What kind of buttons were they trying to push of yours? I mean, you just mentioned an example of one.
Right.
To try to get you to join this Sea Org. Like, what did that mean to you when they said, if you don't join the Sea Org here and now, you won't have a future for your children?
Well, I definitely it was definitely a button of mine because well, kids are very important for my future. So like them saying that was like them just like prodding me with it. They also said how like if they had more Sea Org members, then the legislation for the whole marijuana thing through California, then up into Canada would probably be squashed. Like if they had more people, it would the whole marijuana being approved would be squashed.
Okay, so they're not happy with legalized marijuana.
Right. I mean, I'm not happy with it. I hate the smell of it. It gives me headaches. So I mean, I'm with them there. I don't like it because it gives me headaches.
It's so weird that they have a problem with it. It's weird.
Well, I mean, mind altering drug. Their whole thing, their whole shtick is the mind. I understand, I guess.
Okay. So what are the buttons were they pushing to try to be like to guilt you into joining the Sea Org?
The whole drug thing. They because like I try to put a button on them. I was like, so what we're doing in an ideal org is nothing, like because like from what they were trying to say is like people at ideal orgs were doing nothing, and they're like, well they said the ideal orgs would not be able to operate without us. I'm like, I think we're still doing a pretty good job trying to get like the word out. But you saying that we're doing nothing is kind of too much of a thing. But yeah, so the drugs, the ideal kids, how the world is falling apart. They said that, and we need more people in the Sea Org. And those are the only ones I can really remember.
Yeah. Okay, so even though you're a contracted staff member at that time to the Seattle org, they're basically saying, fuck those guys, come and join us. What if you had said, okay, what did they expect you to just leave your org?
Well, I even said that. I was like, I'm literally here to study to become a Purification to help my org. If I actually said yes here, which I clarified, I'm not saying yes right now, I'm not saying yes here, saying this, what would happen? And they said, well, we would get someone to replace you first, and then we would pull you.
All right, good answer.
But I guess that's policy. It's policy.
Sure. Okay, so you finish all your Purify C training. You go back to Seattle. You're, I guess you become day staff and foundation staff, both, right?
Right.
So what happens to make you want to leave?
Well, I finally hit the notion that I can't afford it. Like I finally hit that barrier because I was giving it a shot to try it and do both. On top of the fact that I was promised when I got back they would have a place for me, like an actual home, semi close to the org, and apparently they pulled it off last minute, like the day I was leaving to come back. To find me at the basement of which I contacted you from.
Oh, because when you went down to LA, you basically had to surrender where you had been staying.
Right. I had 24 hours to pack up everything I owned, and literally I left it there. They said that they were going to take care of it and move it to a storage unit or something. They didn't move it at all. They stuck it in their hallway and they left it there.
Oh. Okay, so you come back. Oh, I'm sorry. I keep accidentally talking.
You're fine.
Okay, so you come back from LA. They put something together for you at the last minute. So what did they put together for you? Where did you end up staying when you came back? I
stayed in, like I told you about the lulls. One of them is an experience like was in the Sea Org or Ideal Org for a very long time. They were an Ideal Org. She was an Ideal Org a very long time, and the father is just a public. But they both have been giving a lot of money to the IIS, so they're like really up on the donor board. But I stayed in their basement.
Okay, so you have a staff member staying in the basement of a house owned by two public. That's already kind of weird as far as like altitude. You're supposed to be a staff member. You're renting, that's a little weird. How much were they charging you?
I told them how much I made, and we made up. They actually had me write up a CSW for that, complete the staff work. And I said that I will give them $50 of my paycheck, of my staff paycheck, And then once I actually get a job, which I was planned on doing that, I would give them more, which was in the CSW, which was part of that. And so I gave them $50 a week. Yeah, that's how much I gave them. When I got my paycheck, I gave them $50. Sometimes that was half the paycheck. Sometimes it was more. But so about a month in, I decided, okay, I need a job. And because I literally just got back from training for the day org, I thought it would be best to drop foundation so that I can keep the training I just got, which in my head makes complete sense. Apparently, sure. I was very wrong, because I gave notice that I was leaving. On Friday afternoon, I left at 6 o'clock with day org. And
wait. I'm sorry. Just so I'm clear, you gave notice that you were leaving what, the foundation org?
Foundation org, yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
I gave notice I was leaving foundation org. I left Friday evening with the day org so that I could that weekend go job hunting. I got call after call about how I'm a blowing staff member. I said I gave you notice. I talked about this a month before, and how that I need to come back in and set things up to actually leave properly.
Can I jump in with a question real quick?
Yeah.
So technically, when you went to LA for this Purify C training, that was just to be the Purify C of the day org, or was the foundation org also expecting you to be their Purify C?
No, just day org.
That is really weird.
And also, apparently there's also policy stating that a person cannot hold the same post on day and foundation. Okay. I don't know where it is, but I'm told that that was verbal data.
So even though you spent all this time training to be a Purify C, did Foundation already have their own Purify C?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Foundation wasn't pissed that you weren't sticking around to help them with their Purif. They were just pissed that they were losing a staff member.
Yeah, I was still in Div 6, and at this time I was actually the director of testing. I forget the other part. Registration. Director of testing and registration in Div 6.
Wow. So during the daytime hours you're the Purify C. During the Foundation hours you're the director of testing and public testing and registration.
Right.
Really interesting. Okay, so of course, if you're going to leave one of those orgs so that you can get a real job, of course it's going to be the Foundation org. Right. Although it's hard to find a job that only wants you there on the nights and the weekends. But that's what you were going to do. You were looking for employment that you could do nights and weekends.
Right. And I actually I found a job that would be working 12 hours a day on Saturday and Sunday. That way I can basically get all my working in then, and I would have my weekend nights free to actually relax, because I was gonna be basically going, and I was actually looking forward to that.
Interesting. Okay, so how do things roll out from there? Foundation starts blowing up your phone. What happens?
On Monday I come back in as day org, and I got pulled to ethics, and they basically told me that I need to leave. I need to figure out a different plan if possible, and if not, I need to put in a CSW to leave. Which I did do the CSW, but when they found out it was going to be for over a year, it was because I set it up so that when I'm done with the contract, I'll join the other org. So at this point, it's staying on with day org, and I'm going to stay on for 5 years, and then go on Foundation. And they didn't like that, so they said, okay, what we're going to do is you're going to do a leaving staff routing form. You're going to leave Foundation org instead of CSW for 5 years. And then they wanted me to do a sec check to leave, and I kept taking pain medication, so I couldn't get on the meter, because you can't be on pain medication for a week after taking pain medication.
You can't go in session for a week after taking pain medication.
Yeah, that.
Right.
So I kept going back and forth with that, and then that drug on for 3 months. At this point, I was still not 3 months, 2 months. I was still basically hurting money-wise. I was barely getting any money, to pay for my phone bill. I was on food stamps again because I got off of food stamps while I was in LA. And it was tough. It was very tough.
Did anyone at the org give you a hard time for being on food stamps?
No.
Did they know?
They knew. They said it was a smart move.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my God, this shit's blowing my mind.
What was really funny is what I found was really weird was that when I contacted government, food stamps, whatever, I told them I was involved with Church Scientology. They basically rushed my food stamps. I told them how much I was making.
They're like, this guy works for Scientology? Shit, this motherfucker must be hungry as hell. Get him some food stamps right now.
Yeah, they actually rushed it, because I already had a card back when I had food stamps before, and I told them that, and next day they had money on it.
That is crazy. I mean, were you aware of other staff that were on food stamps because they just weren't even making enough money to live?
I wasn't aware. I knew a lot of them, particularly the older ones, were on disability or they were on Social Security. And
that's right.
Particularly, there was one woman, she was on both orgs, and she was basically paying rent with her disability.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of the guys who are on staff are there because they either have a spouse who works full time and makes good money, and so they just volunteer at the org. Not volunteer, but work there, not caring that they make nothing. Or they are on a pension or disability,
right?
Or I know, like in Philly, for example, what you'd have is maybe 3 or 4 people who just honestly were just used to being poor and worked at the org, and they all shared like a little apartment, and they happened to get, and they had some moonlight job, on nights and weekends, and so that pooling all of their resources, they managed to scrape by and still, for various reasons, enjoyed working at the org. But isn't it crazy to think of this multi-billion-dollar organization has all of these Sea Org members and staff members that work for almost nothing, and that they even have to be on food stamps? They make so little, and yet people here at Flag are paying as much as $10,000 for a 12-hour block of auditing. Anyway, it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
So let me ask you a question though. As the foundation org is giving you all of this grief, are you at least during that time able to take this weekend job, or are they fucking you around so much you can't even take that job?
I can't even take the job.
Oh my God.
I was told that if I got another job, I would be classified as blowing, and I would be have to do the ethics steps. And so I was basically told to stop looking for a job, don't accept the job, and wait until whatever we figure out is finished.
Okay, and so is it just at that time, is it just the foundation org giving you grief, or is the day org giving you grief for being in trouble with the foundation org?
It's actually a bit of both, because the ethics officer, even though I said a minute ago how you can't hold the same post for Day and Foundation, the ethics officer is the only person almost in the org. Wait, the Chesec, she is both Day and Foundation. Anyway, she is one of the only few people that are both Day and Foundation. So the ethics officer is on Day and Foundation, and she's both giving me she's giving me grief for both Day and Foundation.
Wow. So so during this time, are you still performing your functions as the public testing and registration director of public testing and registration in Foundation, or are you just constantly doing ethics work?
I actually, when I finally decided, okay, let's go for the sec check, let's do it. For a solid 2 days, ethics didn't do anything. They didn't call me in. They were, I guess, doing something else. I don't know. And I just did my job as director of testing and registration. I was answering the online quizzes, online tests that we do, because we get online ones sent to us all the time. Most of them are fake, but still, I have to check them. And we get all kinds of names, you know how you put a first and last name together, it's like a dirty word. We get all those all the time, and it's insane. It's insane. But yeah, we have to answer them. We have to call them if there's a phone number listed. So I did that, and I wasn't contacted that whole time. And then Monday comes, and I get a migraine, and I took medicine. and so we couldn't do it for another week. I was like, I had time. I put aside time for you to do this, and we didn't do it. Like, I don't know. At one point, actually, it got to...
Uh-oh, it looks like we froze for a second. We froze for a second there. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Just restart your sentence from at one point.
Okay. At one point, Foundation was getting mad at, or not mad, but was stating today how I need to drop Day instead because I joined Foundation first. I didn't agree with that, but I understood it because apparently it's in policy, or something or another. I never actually saw the policy, but without it. Anyway, so then we were trying to find someone to replace me on Day, and it still went back and forth. I was like, this is dragging on too long. We're going on 2 or 3 months now, and I needed to get a job. It was in the CSW I wrote. It's something I agreed to do, and I need to do it now. And I'm getting really angry about this whole thing. And I came in to do my job. This is basically, to answer your earlier question, I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm telling you where I had enough and I wanted out. I came in to do my job on the weekend. We had an event later that night, and I was setting up the technical bits, like the microphones and like the bit we add on to the projector so that everything works correctly. That's all I was doing. I plugged it in. That was it. And I get called over by the tech sec. Now the tech sec, not tech sec.
The PES?
No, the executive secretary, the OES, the OES. The OES pulls me over. Now he's not over me. Division 6A. He's not over me at all. The PES is over me. So I thought it was weird that he was talking to me at all. But because like literally by policy, he is going behind the PES and doing his job for him. And what he was talking to me about was actually the kind of sub job that I was doing, which was the AV systems IC. It was kind of like a small job that I was doing because I know how to do it. And that's actually a Div 1. So he was going behind the HES and the PES and talking to me. Anyway, he was saying that because of my ethics situation, that I am to not touch any of the technical AV equipment at all. That because he can't trust me, I don't need to be touching it at all. I need to focus on my 6A job and get that done. Now, and during all this, I was getting upset because a lot of the AV stuff was not getting done. Like I am the person that held it together before I went to LA. Now the whole time I was in LA, it was not getting done. A lot of stuff shut down. We had many of the servers shut down as well because I wasn't there to take care of it. The person I left in charge of it was not taking care of it, and I was getting upset because I was trying to explain that. I was trying to explain that things were shutting down and the job was not getting done, and he wouldn't let me finish a sentence. I even asked him, like, yelled it because he wouldn't let me talk. I said, "Are you let me finish a sentence?" He said no, and that I need to shut up and just go do my job. And I said, "Are you?" And I actually said, "So if you're not gonna let me finish a sentence, I'm done with this conversation." I opened the door because we were in a small office, actually near my desk as the director of testing and registration. And I left that office and I sat down at my desk and I was gonna like do my job. I started checking the online OCAs, the personality tests. And he came up to my desk and he's like, "You need to come with me to ethics now." And I said, "We are done talking. You need to come with me now." I said, "No, we are done talking." And I said, "No, you need to come with me now." And so I got up to leave. I was like, "Okay, then I'm just gonna leave the org." And I go to leave and he puts his whole arm around me. Just manhandles me. And I said, I look at him because he's like right here now. He's a very short guy, actually. Like I'm 6 foot, even. He's like 5 foot-ish, 5'4" at max. He's a very short guy, but he's burly. He's very strong for his size. But I easily just started walking and dragging him along with me. Now the receptionist, who was also the person directly under the Has, I can't remember his.
The COPE officer.
Thank you, COPE off. Yeah, who's actually the COPE off. he comes over and he's like, hey, y'all need to keep it down. Please just talk somewhere else. I'm like, I'm done talking. I'm leaving. And he finally pulls me into an office and he apologizes for manhandling me. Like he had his full arms around me. I was done at that time. At that moment in time, I was done. And I just wanted to basically get out of there. He calmed me down. He apologized. He told me to that I still can't do the AV stuff. And also that in order to pass off the job properly, I need to write up everything that I know that is wrong with the AV systems and to pass it along to the people that need to know it. I did do that, excuse me, but then I didn't come back in. I reported everything that was wrong because I felt like that was my duty to report. I didn't come back in because I was done. You put your hands on me. I'm done. I was almost done in LA when Dicko put his hands on me. I was almost done then, but I let it pass because he was just trying to stop me, and I guess I understood to a degree. But when Keith put his arms around me like he did, I was done. I don't want any more of this. You being physical with me, I didn't want it. So I left. I didn't tell everyone that I was leaving. I just didn't show up again. It's like, are you gonna come in? I'm like, no. And no,
So
I'm not coming in.
So when you say that's the moment I was done. In your mind, are you thinking, fuck you guys, the foundation org, I'm finally done with you, I'm just gonna stick with day org? Or were you like, no,
I'm done with it all.
I'm done with everything.
Done with everything. Because like I was already, because like my dad, during all of this, I found out in November my dad is dying of cancer. Like he was diagnosed cancer. Now he was at the moment in November he was on the process of getting over it, curing it, and being done with it. Not curing it, but like getting rid of the bad stuff. But in January I found out that, was it January? Maybe it was February. But in the beginning of this year, I found out that he has terminal cancer now. They found another tumor. It was first in his like esophagus, like around here, but now he has a terminal cancer, an inoperable tumor in his liver, and that was going to kill him. He had a year to 2 years max, and because of that, I was already on the fence about just going to stay with my dad until either he was done having me around or the end of life. Which
because your dad lives where?
My dad lives in Alabama, and I was in Seattle at the time. And I had told the org this, and they said, "Okay, let's just do a routing form, end of staff routing form, whatever, and you'll come back if you want to, whenever." And but like I said, at that point that Keith handled me, I didn't want to do anything anymore. I just wanted to leave. I want to get out of there. That was it. And 3 weeks went by until I contacted you. And during that time, I was getting call after call. Like I was getting the people I was living with was wondering what was up with me. I told them that like I was just gonna go live with my dad. They were understanding with it. They didn't know the whole situation. Excuse me. This is actually a purification bottle. I love the bottle.
Let's see the symbol. Show us.
Okay, yeah, this is the symbol. This is the symbol.
No one would ever know.
Yeah, and I love the bottle. The bottle is great. Like it's like it's double sealed. I love it.
Hey, that's worth joining Scientology for, that fucking bottle right there.
Right. Anyway, but they didn't know anything else going on at the org because it's like I didn't tell them, and I didn't know if anyone at the org would tell them. But I was done, and I wanted to leave. And I told my mom this, though she didn't really know at the time that I was done with Scientology. I just told her that I was going to go live with Dad for a while. And in the process, I was going to drop off my stuff here and then go to my dad's, because like where he was staying, not all of my things could have gone there. And now she, like about 2 weeks later after telling all of this, she actually found out that I'm just done with Scientology. I just didn't want any part of like the people, the org, dealing with all that. I wanted out because I don't like the way I was treated. I don't like the way like they sit there, like they promised a home when I got back from LA. They stuck me in a basement, which was like an hour and a half away by bus. Now before I was about 45 minutes on a bus, so like that was an extra time I had to spend on a bus just to get to the org.
So every day you would have to take a bus an hour and a half from where you were living to the org just to do your job and or be fucking harassed about not spending more time there.
Right, and then back.
Wow.
Sometimes I got a ride. On a good day, I got a ride, but not into work.
Yeah. So wasn't it your mom that contacted the foundation first?
Yeah, they. I think she like posted something on the foundation's Facebook, and I think also Leah Riveni's Facebook group.
Right.
I can't remember exactly, but I know she posted on Facebook groups having to do with you guys, and then you guys reached out to her, and then y'all started talking email, and then I got involved.
Yeah. So it's funny. I mean, first of all, the foundation gets tons of requests from just people that they're not real requests. Kind of like
Right.
the orgs get all these OCAs from people that are just fucking with them. We get crazy requests all the time that are just bogus. And so it was interesting when I remember when your mom's request came in and we were looking at it. Well, first of all, she was never in Scientology, so she doesn't talk about the subject in a way that makes sense, right? It sounds like it's someone who doesn't know what she's talking about because she doesn't, right?
Yeah, she doesn't.
And then the request comes in, and you know it's describing my son's trying to leave Scientology in Seattle, but he's trapped and he's stuck and he can't leave, and of course none of this is making sense, right? Because we're like, there's not a Sea Org in Seattle. Like it sounds like something a Sea Org member would go through. And then it's just, and then of course, you know, but we still follow up every lead. And then when we found out, when you finally came to make it clear to us how this all had came to be, it was like, okay. Well, I mean, because the truth is, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that you wound up going all the way across the country, and then by the time you wanted to leave, you'd lost your mode of transportation, were basically in debt. You literally couldn't afford to get home.
Right.
And I'll tell you, even though that specific aspect of it, your specific details were unique, we have been contacted by and have helped many people who wound up in a similar situation where they were, I'll say, recruited to join staff at these ideal orgs from out of state, with all sorts of promises. And then they get there, and then eventually when they want to leave, they can't afford to because they're not even making enough money to get the fuck home.
Right.
And it's just really incredible to see. It's kind of a unique phenomenon with these ideal orgs because here's the thing. Before these ideal orgs were not trying to recruit people from out of state. That wasn't a thing. Spending money to bring someone from across the country, that was not a thing that happened at the Class 5 org level. But because of the demand to staff up these huge buildings that they can never fully utilize, we're seeing things like this happening. And then, you know, in your situation, you couldn't just jump on an airplane because you had brought so much shit with you in the first place that you didn't want to just leave behind, right?
Right.
So I'll let you tell the story. How did things roll out with the foundation? How was the foundation able to help you get home?
Well, like I said, I contacted you guys, and y'all hooked me up with a vehicle, and I was able to drive across country. I stayed at 2 hotels when I did that. But y'all were there for me every moment of it. If I needed help. And when I contacted you about the threat, about me getting kicked out, and I was supposed to leave like 2 days, y'all were there with me. I do appreciate everything. I literally could not have done it without you, literally.
Well, it's definitely our pleasure.
Yeah.
I don't know, some of those stories, like, so you mentioned, you alluded to this before, but no one's going to know what you were talking about. You were, the 2 public that you were living in their basement, their son is a Sea Org recruiter in Los Angeles, right?
Right.
And he was trying to to recruit his younger brother for the Sea Org, but his younger brother was on staff at Seattle, right?
Right. Yeah. The whole thing, like his whole issue was that because I wasn't coming in, because I wasn't doing my job as the Purific, another person, Olivia, had to start training as the Purific, and apparently she was up for Preston's job. Preston is the brother, and because she was on doing the training for the Purific, she couldn't do Preston's job, and now Preston, excuse me, couldn't join the Sea Org.
Right. So it kind of shows you, it's kind of one more way that you see just how small the Scientology world really is, where you happen to fuck up the recruiter in LA, who happens to be the son of the people you're living with in Seattle, because his younger brother can't join the Sea Org because his replacement has to train to do the job you're vacating. And so then he's pissed at you, and then he contacts you, and he's like, yeah, I know my parents might have agreed to let you keep staying there until you figure out how to get out of there, but you're fucking me, so I'm gonna fuck you, and I'm gonna get them to put you out on the street. Like, that's what this guy was telling you, right?
Like, maybe not word for word, but that's literally the context that was given me. Like, he was like, I don't care if you're leaving in 2 days, or I'm gonna get my parents to kick you out before then.
Right. Yeah. Not a religion where they turn the other cheek, that's for sure. Okay, and so what does your mom think about all this? Like, she must be like, my crazy son going off doing these crazy things. Like, I don't know. What does she think about all this?
Well, first off, she's like, I told you so, because she tried to warn you. But like, she's happy to have me back. Like, I'm semi-happy that I had the experiences. I did learn a few new things, like living in a big city, like how that is, which I did like. I love the Seattle climate. If I could have that climate here, like, it'd be perfect. I do not like the heat here. It's but like all I had to do in Seattle was stick a fan in the window, and I had cool air. So like, anyway, but like, she's just happy to have me home. Like, she wished I hadn't gone through all I did, losing my car, all this, but bottom line, she's just happy to have me home.
That's
and
right.
And out of that mess.
So, I mean, I should ask your mom, but I'm just asking you. How did she know to reach out to anybody for help in getting her son out of Scientology and back home?
Well, from the moment I left, she has been like looking for anything on Scientology, and she found the Aftermath series. She watched I don't know if she actually watched all of them. I cannot remember, but I know for sure she watched a few of them, and that's how she knew that you guys existed, because she watched the show, and through the show she connected dots. I don't know exactly how she did it. I can call her. She's like down the hall if you want.
You don't have to do. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that.
But yeah, she got in touch because like she knew where to go. Like, I didn't know anything about it, but like, I heard of the Leah Remini series. I have not seen any of the series yet. I might watch a few episodes now that I'm out. But like, I have not seen any of it personally.
Okay. Well, you reminded me of something that I wanted to ask you about earlier. You mentioned that you were in Scientology and on staff when the DirecTV channel got launched, Scientology TV. Did you guys see any impact whatsoever at the org from this TV channel?
There was definitely a few more people coming in. Excuse me. Wow. There was definitely a few more people coming in than before it was released. We actually had one guy come in basically fully prepared to sign on to courses because of what he saw on the network. Like, didn't come in before, didn't take I think he took one online, an OCA. I think he took one OCA online, but like, never came into the org before, not even a little bit. And he came in wanting to get on course because of what he saw on the network. Like, now I will say this, the stuff they have on the network about like learning how the mind, I do like that. Like, I do like what they say about controlling the mind, but I do not like well, I guess the people in Scientology. Like the technology behind it, I feel like there is some aspect to it that might work, but like the people that are actually putting it to use are not using it correctly. That's how I feel.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, people have all sorts of opinions about it, but
right.
you know, I try to explain to people that, you know, if there wasn't some value to be found, people would never stay at all in the beginning.
Right.
You know, and so obviously people find value in different things and in different ways. But it's funny because in some ways, depending on, you know, what someone's experience was and who you're talking to, they'll say, you know, I didn't really like this or that, but I really liked the people. And some people will say, well, I really kind of liked what our mission was and stuff, but you know, the people were the problem. Like it just depends. People have all sorts of different opinions about it.
Yeah, the people were definitely an issue, particularly when it felt like they were trying to control me. That was like what I did not like at all. But like the technology behind it, I can see like the way to happiness. Like I feel like someone, Joe Blow off the street, can apply just the way to happiness and be perfectly fine.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. And then someone else could say, what is it that's in the way to happiness that isn't written anywhere else? Like, really brush your teeth, don't murder. Okay, well, I wasn't planning on it. I mean, but anyway.
No, I mean, it's just like, it's like common sense things that you should really already know.
Sure. So how, as I mean, I'll say as a Scientologist, I mean, did you consider yourself a Scientologist? Were you like, yes, I'm a Scientologist?
Now, probably not. I do have a few books that I
like when you were on staff, were you like, yeah,
definitely,
I bought into this. Okay.
Yeah.
So as a Scientologist, how did you what's the word I want to use? How did you explain to yourself, or how did you rationalize why getting a direct TV channel on satellite television was somehow going to open up Scientology to the comm lines of the world? It's like, you know, I kind of go, has no one ever heard of the internet? Has no one ever heard of YouTube? Like, tell me how DirecTV reaches channel 320 on DirecTV reaches more people than a YouTube channel where literally anyone in the world can watch what's on YouTube.
I mean, I'm actually right there with you. I didn't understand why DirecTV had to be the main source point. Like, I know they have their own, like literally on the Scientology.tv, Scientology.tv, they have the same thing they have on DirecTV. The same exact thing is broadcasted. Maybe they have a deal with them. Maybe they're getting paid by DirecTV. I really have no idea. But like, I don't know why DirecTV had to be involved at all, because they have live, they have the live showing on Scientology YouTube. They have the live showing on Scientology.tv, and every now and then, because I keep getting updates about it, they have live showings on Twitter. So like, they have the platform to use, but they don't utilize it, in my opinion.
Right. So what did they tell you about Scientology Media Productions and why it had to be created and how it was something new? Like, did you know about Golden Era Productions and that Golden Era Productions can do everything Scientology Media Productions does?
I from what I understand, the Golden Era Productions actually turned into SMP. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I was told. But I was told that the reason why they had to do that for a TV channel was basically to do global dissemination at once. Excuse me. Like, we have our dissemination around the org, but the TV channel does global.
But is DirecTV global?
I mean, no. That's why I don't understand why they. That's why I don't understand why they had to do DirecTV.
Okay. So even as a Scientologist, it did not make a lot of sense to you.
Not really, no. Like, I was like, cool, DirecTV. I don't really understand it, but cool. That's really what my thought process was. I don't understand why, but all right, cool.
Right. So have you ever had DirecTV?
No. I mean, I don't really like satellite. I prefer cable because it keeps going out in storms.
Yeah, I've never had DirecTV. But locally, were Scientologists just like losing their minds at how awesome it was that Scientology had its own TV channel now?
Well, I mean, yes, the Scientology community, definitely. But like, from what I know, everyone I know almost, like, doesn't have DirecTV. Almost everyone I know in the org, even on staff, didn't have DirecTV. They watched it on their phones. They watched it like on like the app. They watched it on their phones, the tablet, computers. To my knowledge, never on DirecTV itself. Like we had a DirecTV unit. Yeah, we had a unit like at reception. But that was it.
Were you guys all encouraged to watch it?
Oh no, we had to.
Yeah, go ahead. I want to hear.
Okay, maybe not on DirecTV, but we actually had policies stated out from, like, I assume Florida, that we had to watch all the episodes. Like we literally had to watch all the episodes so that we would know what's going on, how to disseminate it properly. Like if we knew a friend that like that skateboarding episode. I actually kind of enjoyed that skateboarding episode because it had to do with YouTube and stuff. So like kind of like that one.
I mean,
like,
I haven't seen any of them, so I don't know.
Well, there's one of the Meet a Scientologist ones. It's about a skateboarder who got big on YouTube, and he's also a Scientologist. Okay. And so like, I really liked that one. But they also the way they explained it was like, let's say you knew guys, you had friends that were skateboarders. You could show them that episode. Like they like basically find the episode that fit your friend and show them that.
Right. I mean, I've had a little time and distance from it all, so it's easy for me to pass judgment on some of these things that probably I wouldn't have before. But it seems so childish and condescending to think that you could do a TV program about a Scientologist who's a skateboarder, and that if you just show that program to someone else who's a skateboarder, they're going to be like, oh, that sounds like it's for me.
I mean, that's literally the thought process. Like, if they have the same reality, they have the same whatever. So, like, they feel like there will be a connection. Personally, a lot of the Meet a Scientologist episodes I had, except for the skateboarder one, because I had reality with it. But I wasn't really interested in most of this Meet a Scientologist one. I was more interested in the I can't remember the L. Ron Hubbard library ones, when they went over like what an engram is and how the mind works and that sort of thing. I was interested in. The rest of it, I could give a damn.
Yeah, I get it. So you didn't. Did you ever hear any Scientologists? This kind of goes to my earlier question of like,
right.
What did people think was actually the benefit of having a DirecTV channel? Did you actually hear anybody complaining that so much money, I mean, we're talking tens of millions of dollars, sunk into creating these programs and Scientology media productions and the DirecTV thing to create something that isn't even a fraction of what you should be able to accomplish just on YouTube, which is free? I mean, did you ever hear anybody questioning these things or in any way?
No, I mean, I did wonder because like they actually went into detail, which was another episode I liked. They went into detail what they do to get an episode out. They went into detail of what they do at SMP. They went into detail of like, well, everything they do like to get an episode out. And like, and also like all the money that gets put into like making promo and everything at, I can't remember the name of that place either, the Simulation Center.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, like they went into detail of all of this, and I'm like, are they really putting that much money into it? So right. I mean, I thought about it, but I never actually voiced it.
And since you're a guy who's at least familiar with tech, like not Scientology tech, like computer tech, right. Did you ever wonder why they spend so much time and money printing lectures on CDs when we live in an era of MP3s and MP4s?
Yes. I get excited about this because I was asking these questions. I was like, why aren't these on USBs? Why aren't these like digital? Why are they only on CDs? And apparently it's a copyright thing. It's so they can control the copyright. That's literally the only reason.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Like they want to they want to have control of the copyright because on every disc, I think I have it.
It may not be duplicated. May not be.
But yeah, it says that, and like I mean I did that. I have them all on file. because I spent the time to put them all on file because I don't want to have to deal with putting CDs into a CD player. It's
But
all
nobody
on
knows
file.
you did that, right?
Yeah, no one.
No, you would
I'm
have
only
been
telling
sent
you
to
guys.
ethics. You would have been sent to ethics and a lot worse if they knew you had done that.
Oh yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
you could fit every book and lecture Hubbard ever gave onto an iPod. And yet they sell them for thousands and thousands of dollars and hundreds of CDs. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I definitely didn't agree with it.
All right. Well, I think we've covered everything we wanted to cover. I don't know how long we've been going here, but it seems like it's been a while.
A couple hours, yeah, for sure.
How about when I post this, let's see what kind of questions people have, any follow-up questions people have in the comments section. So for everyone watching this, throw your questions down below, anything we didn't cover. And let's do this again in the future if you're up for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe